Parker, and I'm here with Mr. Mike Carswell, and we're here to talk about all things technology for your home, your business, and your life. We've got an exciting show for you today. We're going to be talking about genetic testing and personalized medicine.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Mike Carswell joining Sanjay Parker here on Tech Talk 2020. We are glad that you're here with us on 1330 AM, WINT Integrity Radio, and also 101.5 FM, WINT Integrity Radio. Also, if you just happen to, you can check us out and pick us up on WINTradio.com. We can hit you from 3 different ways here. But we're glad that you're here, and you're going to talk about genetic what again?
Genetic testing. Mike, have you had your genes tested?
No. I my Levi's or my Wranglers?
Yeah, you're wearing jeans. I think you should get those tested.
Oh, you mean my jean? Actually, I'm really breaking every law of fashion because I was working in the yard. I'm wearing jorts today.
I don't even know what jorts.
Jean shorts.
Oh, jean shorts. That's not what they're called. Really?
I guess what Kevin Hart called them, jorts.
Why not sheens?
Whatever, man. They're against all kind of fashion laws, so people don't look at me. Not
don't
my
look,
shorts.
Don't look. Hey, so genetic testing is really scientifically it's a sequencing of DNA in order to discover your genetic differences, similarities, any anomalies or mutations that may prove pathological, that might have some significance in terms of your medical outcomes or your predispositions. Also, anything that might impact your lineage. If you're going to have kids, what are the chances of you, carrying these, or what traits do you carry? What diseases and abnormalities might you pass along to your children? So it's a big deal. Now, historically, when I talk historically, I mean like literally maybe 10 or 15 years ago, the only way to do that, it's significantly expensive to do genetic mapping by using your blood. It would cost $100,000, right? Sure. Okay. So it was not something that was normally done, right? Unless it's in a research context and they're trying to get it. But today, you've got options for $99 to basically take your saliva, right? A swab of saliva, mail it into a lab, and get back all kinds of information about yourself that you may never have wanted to know. But, it's pretty interesting stuff. And we'll talk about why you might want to do that. What are the benefits and risks of that?
Okay, so genetic testing. So let's say, for instance, there's a happy couple that's looking to join forces and become one, change their last names and everything else and become a married couple. Are we going to get to the point where, you grab Mary Lou by the arm and say, Mary Lou, you're the one for me, and then you guys have genetic testing activity. You have your saliva swabbed, and you both send it into a lab. And the information comes back and says, oh, no. You guys, this is a bad mix. Is that kind of thing possible to happen too?
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it boils down to, as a consumer of these reports, it boils down to an informed decision, right? So, Mary Lou, I might have said, I always wanted to have, maybe I have red hair, and I wanted my children to have red hair, and I said, Mary Lou, I love your red hair. I can't believe it. We both have recessive red hair genes. We're going to have redheaded kids, and it's going to be so awesome. Right. But then I find out through genetic testing that Mary Lou is actually a brunette or a blonde. Right? So, hey, there's some, and by the way, she had a nose job and, all this stuff, that will pass along. No, it's not that bad.
Poor
but,
Mary Lou.
It's really around risk, right? If we knew we were going to have offspring that, might be at risk for certain diseases, we would definitely consider, if we weren't sure we're going to have children, or if we're going to manage the pregnancy in a way that involved close monitoring to make sure that the child is successfully, brought into this world, then it's things that I want to know. And that's the whole premise of it. There has been some backlash against it.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Doctors feel, you don't want to get the news that you're carrying all of these traits, and by the way, you're got a 90% chance of getting this disease without somebody there to counsel it. But there have been studies and surveys that prove otherwise. People can take that information sitting down and, make informed decisions about it. Now, we'll talk more about, that kind of data later, but there's this company called 23andMe that really started it. And back in 2006 is when a woman named Linda Avey, who actually is married to, or was married to, one of the founders of Google, Sergey Brin. Okay. So brilliant people. She was a biologist, and she started this company, and it was the first way to get that kind of genetic mapping done for yourself. And I think the price back then was still ridiculously low, $999, right? And it was going to keep coming down.
And wait a minute, but the price what you're paying for again is this saliva swab, which would be analyzed and would tell you what you would have a tendency to have problems with, or your tendency to be good at, or what kind of information would be provided? So again, it's a saliva swab.
Yeah. So back then it was really almost a full panel of your genes and your propensities for different traits. Today, it's a key set of markers for maybe 25. Say high blood pressure or some other kind of disease that you might have. As you get older, you might have the gene or the Y chromosome that gets passed on that says you have a 5% chance of having this later in life, or you have, in some cases, it's 100%, because that is something that's 100% indicative of causing problems later. So you may get all that information. So it's really around your current health. It focuses on what you are a carrier of, and being a carrier might not be a problem unless you pass it along, but also being a carrier might mean that you probably will have a problem in your own lifetime.
Yeah, and none of that matters, too, if I get hit by a bus. So
that's a different type of carrier. Yes, you'll be carried down the road.
I mean, hitting by a bus never usually causes me to laugh, but I'm thinking about sometimes we try to basically plan everything out, but a lot of times life really does not quite pan out the way we expect it to. So information is power. And we are getting smarter together, so I'm getting all that kind of information. But when it comes to genetics here, you still got to convince me some more about dabbling in the pool of where a man's fingers should not go.
That's a good pun. You mean the gene pool. That's very good. Very good.
Pool, yes.
The pool. Now,
I was thinking
a little bit of inside information. I got hit by a bus back in 2012. And I survived. Okay. I did. I was crossing the street on my way to work down to on Euclid Avenue and East 13th, and green light, and I went forward, and this RTA bus clipped the back of my rental vehicle.
Oh.
And so got out, took all the information, and I went into work, and I told everybody I got hit by a bus this morning. And they're like, "What are you doing at work?" It was really pretty minor. She was able to slow down.
So the real detail of the example is that the car you were driving was hit by a bus, not the body that you're walking around in.
I was connected to it.
You know what? Actually, if you had jeans on, maybe it would have been different too. But go ahead.
So, anyway, all this information in 2006, people who had that kind of money were getting their genetic testing and sharing it, and it's come a long way. But in 2013, there was such a backlash that most of what they provided was legislated out. Okay. And they said, look, you can't do this.
So most of what they provided was, again, I don't need to know all the details, but it sounds as if they could give information that would be more harmful than helpful.
Yeah, especially when there's a 15% chance you might have something, and perhaps the counseling isn't there, and you're thinking, well, 15%, I'm going to get this. I'm going to go ahead and go crazy and drink 8 cups of coffee a day.
I have a 50% chance of having a big nose. Is that part of it, too? Well, if your mom's got a big nose, your dad's got a big nose, kid, you got a schnoz coming your way.
I think big noses are cool. Anyway,
I know big nose. Okay.
So, it was basically like everybody said, 23andMe said, people want the truth. And the doctor said, people can't handle the truth. So back just last year, or maybe it was early this year, late last year, they were able to reintroduce those 25 key markers. And you can look it up on their site, 23andme.com.
I'll check them out.
And those markers are for things that are undeniable. So if you have, it's more black and white in a lot of this. So if you have this, you have a 100% chance of having this.
Wow.
If you have this, you have almost no chance of having this unless you pass it along. So they did that. And so there's I think a $99 version of the test and a $199 version of the test that gives you more of that health input.
But this is all for health reasons, because I'm trying to take the positive, the high road here, ladies and gentlemen. The high road would be if you are, I was a college level basketball player, and I used to be okay. I was pretty good. But my wife was a gymnast. She's a Division I gymnast. So you would think that our kids would have some real athletic genes, so to speak. That's what people would say. How does that roll into this conversation?
Yeah, so there's companies out there that are copying that formula and saying they can tell if you're going to have athletic kids, or we're going to be
kids.
Academically gifted kids, or whatever. They simply can't do that today. That's not really science right now. It's more research and speculation. So, this started off as a health diagnostics tool. then it was shut down, and so they made it a genealogy research tool, which is okay because that's a hobby. I want to see what lineage I'm from and where I come from, and that became okay, and 23andMe continued that way until they could prove, okay, there are certain things that are undeniable and not confusing. We want to give this information to people because it's in their best interest. They're doing it. Now, speaking of genealogy, this is a great stat. There's actually a company that does this for you. You can also do this with 23andMe, I believe.
Okay.
Did you know? Let me tell you.
Hey, I didn't know. Let's get smarter together. Of course I didn't know.
1 in 200 men on this planet today are direct. This is the hypothesis, and it's based on a ton of data. 1 in 200 men are direct descendants of Genghis Khan.
I could see that.
And so you know why, right? Because
no, I do not know why.
He lived? Well, so how can you see it?
Well, no, because because of the part of the world that he's...
I kind of look like Genghis
Khan.
Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, I'm just messing. So, when, this is 1,000 years ago when he lived, roughly, and when he conquered lands, well, the spoils of the land were his, including the women.
Oh, okay.
And so he
was a fertile brother.
He was fertile, and he made sure he passed along his genes to such a almost sickening degree that 1 out of 200 men today have that Y chromosome. We can't test, the Y chromosome doesn't come down for women, so we can test that. And so there's websites that will take your genetic or your DNA and see if you're a direct descendant of Genghis Khan.
Wow.
And so people are looking at it and saying, oh, look, this is great. But they're also looking at, this genetic testing and saying, wow, I thought I was 100% Indian because my mom and dad are Indian, but wow, it looks like I have 12% Chinese in me, or 12% European, or 12% African, or a part of Africa that they can nail it down to. It's pretty amazing for people. And what it's really showing people is nobody's pure anything, even if they think they are, right? There's very rare cases where you're really one race.
I have seen a YouTube video which they had 50 people in a room, and they described their different prejudices and thoughts and everything else. And then, excuse me, they were tested and they were brought back, and they found out, even in this room of 50 people, that there were cousins in the room. And this other gentleman thought he was from one country, which doesn't like those type of people, but those type of people he didn't like, he ended up being 17% of those people that he didn't like, and those kind of things. And it really kind of shows how silly things are when it comes to people not liking other people.
I'm going to quote, I believe it's Martin Gore, not Al Gore, Martin Gore from Depeche Mode. And he always said, he actually sang it, he said, people are people, so why should it be that you and I could get along so awkwardly?
All right. The quotes are just flying around here.
They are.
I've heard that people are people sign before, and people are crazy.
That's even
I
better.
tell you what, whenever you get people involved, that's when things go awry. But that's all right.
That's why we need more robots.
That's right. Yes. That promotes it real good here. Anyway, guys, listen. Genetically speaking, we're going to take a quick break here, but we'll be back real quickly here on Tech Talk 2020, talking about genetic testing here on WINT Radio 1330 AM and W101.5 FM Integrity Radio. Talk to you after the break.
And discounts of the year. Save time and money. We got them. Come get them at Pat O'Brien Chevrolet.
Are you ready to party? Lost Nation Sports Park has countless special event possibilities for all ages, from 10 people to 8,000. Tired of the same old catering hall? Get creative, mix it up. Do something different for your anniversary, birthday, or bridal, baby, or wedding shower. Put some fun in your fundraiser, or take corporate team building strategic planning sessions for office parties off-site. Call Marilyn, 440-604-2000. Lost Nation Sports Park. Put action in your action plan.
A recent article on the Sleep Geek blog states, brand and store loyalty, especially with younger shoppers, is very low. Mattresses are viewed as a commodity to be purchased during national holidays when they are at quote-unquote huge markdowns, and internet campaigns create buzz instead of focusing on the actual product quality. This is Robin Trzynski, and while these may be the overarching trends, they are not without exception. The original mattress factory exists to build a better bed. Our brand has a loyal customer base, over half of which are repeat customers. We view mattresses not as commodities, but as products essential to your overall health and well-being. We know that the huge markdown sales don't really exist and focus instead on providing real value by offering quality products at factory direct prices to every customer every day. We are also committed to offering the best service with an expert sales staff that can provide you with more knowledge than any other mattress store. So stop by today and experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Pat O'Brien Chevrolet thanks those who dedicate their lives to keeping us safe, defending freedom in the American way of life. Policemen, firemen, and the military, past and present, deserve our support and gratitude. At Pat O'Brien Chevrolet, we say God bless you and God bless America.
Welcome back to Tech Talk 2020 with Sanjay Parker. I am your humble tech host, Sanjay Parker, and I'm here with my humble co-host, Mike Carswell. And we're talking about genetic testing, DNA, and potentially personalized medicine. We haven't talked about that part yet.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm the humbler one of the humbles, but that's okay. We're going humbly along here.
You're so humble to say that.
It's quite humble of me, isn't it? We're glad that you tuned in, and just glad that you took a few moments to listen to us, because we want to get smarter together. That's the key here on 1330 AM, WINT Radio, and 101.5 FM, WINT. So fiddle around on your radio station if you're in the car, and on your radio, and see if you can pick us up. Or, of course, WINTradio.com is our internet connection. So, Sanjay, really, I'm getting smarter together, learning about this genetic testing, man, and I was told by someone, because I'm kind of in that industry about ancestry and, my other job, we talk about people's background.
That's right.
So I can, I've been told I can swipe and find out my origins. And I've been tempted to do it. I haven't done it yet. I'm going to.
I think it's interesting, and I think you would be prepared for the truth.
You know what's interesting, though, is that, and I'll just throw this at you as we slide into some other topics, is that many in the Northeast Ohio area where we are think or believe they're descendants from Europe, and then there's the African Americans that are here, and we really don't have that European connection. Obviously, we have the African connection, but because of the way things happened, we don't know which particular part of Africa we came from. So I would say that testing thing is going to hold a lot of value for folks that want to know their past, and so I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool, and I haven't seen a full panel of those tests, but I know that it will indicate percentage of certain types of race.
Yeah, I hope that
it might not pinpoint
sure.
your village or town, like where I was, raised at. But
oh man, I'm from 55th Street, man. I want that pointed out in there. That's good.
So there's so we've got this. You can today just take a saliva swab, send it in, $199 or $99. Learn a lot about yourself. But what it can't do is, like I said, it can't tell if your kids are going to be athletes. It's not going to be able to, even though some sites might promise that, it's not going to be able to tell you that here's the perfect diet for your genome type or your gene type. We're not quite there yet. So I think I just advise some caution. It's a lens into you, and it's not the only lens. Like, one of the examples was they did a study and said, all of these people who are getting this genetic information, they got 15% risk of, heart disease that comes from their father's side, or 25%. Will they make changes to their diet and lifestyle in order to help mitigate those risks?
Right.
And the study showed, by and large, that people don't make any changes, right? So they don't panic.
Okay.
But they're also saying, look, if it's going to take a lot of work for me to reduce just a 15% chance of something, like cutting out red meat or not eating burgers or steak, I'm not going to do it. So
man,
it's the human thing.
Man, why would you say that? I'm hungry now.
The other truth is that most diseases are what's called polygenic, right? It's more than one gene, right, that contributes to disease. So just
would that be polygenetic or polygenic?
Polygenic.
I'm with you.
Yep. So, multiple genes, right? And so you might have the carrier for one, but if you don't have another carrier interacting with it, you may never get that disease. And it's also interaction between non-genetic factors like your environment, right? You've got a genetic predisposition to having alcoholism.
Yes.
If you never have alcohol in your life, then you're not going to, have that disease. So it's kind of interesting. So when people were tested for that and they found a single carrier for something, they really didn't make a lot of difference in
And like you said, it's a
less.
lens. I think that's the more you know, the more you grow. And just having that information, and again, not the multi-layered level, super-duper stuff, but just a little bit of information might help you. It'd be good to know if somebody was your cousin before you married them, I guess.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I would, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're not too far along in love where it's like a heartbreaker. You should probably do that like on your second or third date.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that,
Yes.
it sounds ridiculous, right? But
Yeah.
there's a TED Talk that I was just trying to look up, but I can't find it right now. But there's a guy.
Tell the people what a TED Talk is.
Oh, right. A TED Talk is,
Raise your hand out there if you know what a TED Talk is.
yes.
Okay, good.
Okay. So technology, education, design, like leading thoughts in the whole world. Great speakers, all of them have a story. So, for example, I watched one, and it's great because these speakers are really well respected before they get on that stage. They've done their research and homework. These aren't just crazy ideas. They're not all scientists, but they all have personal grounding into the story. They've got experience. They could talk about it firsthand. For example, somebody went to see slavery in all of the world today, and we think, oh, there's really not that much slavery. It's illegal in every country in the world, but it's happening in every country in the world, not just the sex trade, but in India, kids carrying bricks and, up to 18 bricks on their heads all day long, working 18 hours. They're born into that. Sometimes they're like 20, 30 years old, and they don't know that that's wrong because that's all they've done. They know nothing about the rest of the world. And so, she went and took photographs and met these people and somehow risked her life, but she had that story to share. That's a TED Talk.
Are there any nations at all that still allow slavery that you're aware of?
No, she said no nation in the entire world allows it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Some people out there working their jobs think that it's slavery, but I tell you what.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the difference is they get paid something, and they might think they don't get paid enough, but they can leave, right? That's the difference. They're not forced to do that job.
Got you.
So the TED Talk that I'm referring to is another guy who is promoting the fact that, or the idea that we should all have personal DNA testing machines at home.
Oh, at home?
At home. So
how many times do I need to test my DNA?
Well, here's the interesting thing. He talks about,
Does it change?
He talks about a 16-year-old girl who had an idea. Let's do genetic testing of things in outer space. So she had a machine and an idea, and they took it out on a spaceship, and the astronaut did testing on himself, did testing on food and fruit to see if there's any changes that happen when you're in space.
Do food and fruit have DNA? I never thought of it that way.
They do. And another family did a little slice of their tomato peel, put it into the DNA tester, the genetic tester, and found out what variants of tomato it was, because those can all be mapped.
What's the value of doing that exercise?
So it's important to know where you're at, right? It's also important to know that our bodies change, right? And so right now, the example was, okay, we can look at 25 carriers, we can look at some traits, but we haven't mapped the entire human genome, right? So we're getting more data. Over time, we'll be able to understand and interpret things more. Somebody said the idea of just looking at your whole, genetic sequence is kind of like, to look for something, is kind of like saying, hey, look up Mike Carswell in the phone book, and they start with the first page, and they go through the A's, then the B's.
Oh, boy. That'd take a while.
Right. Or whatever,
Yeah.
Well, for Carswell, they'd get there quicker than Parker, but, So it's not an efficient way. So that thing will get tuned. It's just something to have a lot of information on, and information is golden. So I think it's really important to think about that, and what he's saying is it's going to become so common and so important as we have our own diagnostics. Now, you've heard this. Cancer treatment in the past 10 years has improved significantly when genetic testing is brought into the picture, and also testing of that specific cancer.
No, I never heard that, but I can see where it would make sense.
Yeah, so now instead of just a broad spectrum anti-cancer drug that really just kills everything, right? It's it's hard, chemotherapy and all
radiation
this,
therapy.
It's toxic to the whole body.
Gotcha.
But you're hoping you'll kill the cancer cells too.
Yeah.
Well, now they've done tests where they've targeted just that type of cancer cell. They put stuff into your body. It only attacks that because they can personalize it to you. And every person, even if you have, let's say you have throat cancer, right? And I just esophageal, very good. Yeah. And I just heard that drinking hot coffee on a regular basis, or hot tea, is now listed as a probable contributor to throat cancer.
Really?
Yeah. Anything above 159 degrees the typical cup of coffee that you get at a restaurant is 190 degrees.
Oh, the ones at McDonald's are even hotter.
Yeah.
Caution.
So, yeah, wait till it cools down a bit. I've been drinking hot coffee and tea for too long, and so
Really? Huh.
anyway, back to
That's cool.
the main
Yes.
thing. So they
Right.
can attack just that type of cancer cell, and it's amazing. And they're using your own immune
Information.
system,
Your own
immune
data.
system to do it.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
It's just absolutely a beautiful thing. So all of that information is great. Bringing it to the home sounds kind of crazy now, but that TED Talk presenter showed he showed a phone, a first cellular phone.
Mm-hmm.
And he said when this was released in the 80s, people thought this was crazy and futuristic. They thought, wow, I can call my Aunt Elma now from my car. And, 25, 30 years later, I can now, not only can I call Aunt Elma from my bathroom, I can tag her on Facebook and send her photos of the kids, just to think how far we've come
It is amazing.
with all of these technologies. So
Wow.
pretty neat stuff.
So I don't know if I'll be first in line for a DNA tester at home, nor will I be the first in line to ride a Hyperloop pod up in Mars, like those other things we've talked about on this show. But again, as things continue to infiltrate our lives and make us smarter together to help us, I'm a late adapter, but I'll be on board with you. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, part of it is that knowledge is power, and knowledge wants to be free. Information wants to flow freely, and first step is making sure we can get to it and get to it easily.
Mm-hmm.
And genetic testing and DNA sequencing at home or getting those tests, at least collected at home, is a significant step forward in that view.
So to recap, we're going to send our saliva on a swab off to 23andme.com, and maybe those guys can tell us where we're from.
We should do that and read our results in
That'd
the
be
future.
cool.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. And then secondly, we should consider the fact that DNA testing is coming in the future.
Yeah.
It's coming, y'all.
Let us know your thoughts on Tech Talk 2020 at Facebook. Go
Yeah.
ahead and check it out.
Yeah, let us know what you're thinking about, what your genes have been telling you all these years. My genes keep getting, well, actually, I've had the same size genes for about 12 years now, so that's a good thing. I've been about the same size.
He's
still.
so humble, so humble.
I'm the humbler one. Humbling right along here. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Tech Talk 2020 tonight here on WINT Integrity Radio, 1330 AM and 101.5 FM. I said that fast. We're getting faster and faster with that. So we are so glad that you tuned in. Pick us up on Facebook. Tweet at us at Tech Talk 2020. Just communicate with us. We're cool with it. Thank you so much. Talk to you next week.